This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Let's get ready to go again for another weekend. Saturdays and Sundays, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is live at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app. Got you covered on everything important for game number 3 of the Stanley Cup Final between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Washington Capitals. Loaded up with some really good guests and a lot of interesting and some, well, we'll call them manufactured storylines to get into as well. But lots of good stuff to dive into over the next couple of hours. Ken Boehlke will join us from sinbin.vegas, talking Vegas Golden Knights, who are even at 1 apiece with the Washington Capitals in the Stanley Cup Final. Our friend Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press will also join us in hour number 1. We'll talk a little Stanley Cup Final. And I want to ask Stephen about a piece he did recently that focuses on Commissioner Gary Bettman. It was really interesting. We pushed it out and retweeted it through our social media channels. Really interesting piece. Joe Yerdon is covering the NHL Combine, which is taking place in Buffalo. Joe will join us to talk the Combine. Buffalo Sabres with the number 1 overall pick at this year's NHL entry draft, and Joe just happens to cover the Buffalo Sabres as well. Corey Hirsch to talk goaltending and whatever else we can get into with Corey Hirsch. It's always a good conversation. And Scott Burnside, who covers the National Hockey League for The Athletic and is at the Stanley Cup Final. He has shifted from Vegas to Washington. He will join us on the program as well. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles, and that's where we're looking for your photos of the HU Dog of the Day nominees for today. We do it every Saturday. We ask you to send through a photo of your pooch or your favorite pooch to us. We like to select a Dog of the Day every Saturday. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Tell us your name. Tell us your dog's name. The story of how you two came together. We love working dogs. We love shelter dogs. We love all dogs. We're a dog-friendly show. And yes, if you've been following us on social media at Hockey Unfiltered and on our Facebook page as well, you have seen Marc-Andre Fleury meeting Bark Andre Fleury. And yes, the story of Ovi the Bulldog that has been out as well. That's part of the reason why we do it. Hashtag is HU Dog of the Day. Send us your nominations. Hope you're having a good weekend so far. Welcome to June. Yeah, we're a couple of games into the Stanley Cup Final, and we've just shifted into June. The Cup Final has now moved from fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, to the District of Columbia. I'm not sure what we're going to get in terms of a pregame show for tonight. I talked a little bit about this on our Little Saturday podcast on Wednesday. I thought the pregame show was sensational in Vegas. There were a lot of people kind of whining about it and, oh, what are they doing? I thought it was great. I thought the theatrics were great. I thought they were real and fun, not like some of the theatrics that have been going on with Evgeny Kuznetsov. We'll get into a little bit of that later on as well. But I'm enjoying the series so far. I think it's been interesting. I think it's been fun. I think there's been some worthwhile storylines investigating. And I'm looking forward to game number 3. I'm interested to see what happens in the building tonight. Actually, I got a lot of questions about game number 3 between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Washington Capitals. I have a lot of thoughts, and I'm curious about a lot of things, what we're going to see, what we expect to see, what we don't necessarily expect to see. First things first, Evgeny Kuznetsov was on the ice for the morning skate for the Washington Capitals. He participated in drills. He skated on line rushes. Everything seems to be fine. Although in the comments afterwards, he said, well, we'll see if he plays tonight. That's all part of the whole injury dance, upper body, lower body, mid body, some sort of malady that is affecting him. We don't know whether it's a hand, a wrist, an arm, an elbow, a shoulder, something, but he looks to have been fine this morning. He participated in the full practice yesterday that the Washington Capitals held. He looked a little uncomfortable at times, but there wasn't really any cause for alarm to think, yeah, he's not really going to play. In fact, many were suggesting yesterday, yeah, he's going to play. But then there's the whole injury dance. Well, what can we reveal? What shouldn't we reveal? We'll get into a little bit more of that later on. But there's a few questions for both the Vegas Golden Knights and the Washington Capitals heading into game number 3. I'm anxious to see how they play out. I'm anxious to see how Marc-Andre Fleury performs. I know there has been so much talk about Braden Holtby the last few days because of the so-called save, but I'm really anxious to see how Marc-Andre Fleury performs in game number 3. He has been the key to success for the Vegas Golden Knights in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. He was posting unbelievable numbers. He was stopping everything that came toward him almost. What he didn't stop, his posts did. In the first couple of games, though, of this series, he looked human. He had some bad luck. He had a puck get caught up in his skates that when he backed up in his crease, it slid into the net. He had some bad luck when the puck deflected and went off both posts and went into the net, the one shot by Brooks Orpik, the one that turned out to be the game-winning goal in game number 2. But the first couple of games, his numbers haven't been that great. In fact, neither of the goaltenders had really flattering numbers in game number 1 of this series. We had 10 goals. Wasn't that glorious? Wasn't that outstanding? And as we suspected, things kind of cut back and came back to earth in game number 2 with only half as many. But it's a small margin of error in the Stanley Cup final. That's the difference between winning and losing. And Braden Holtby got the better of the two in game number 2. There's been a lot of talk and attention and focus on the save. But how is Marc-Andre Fleury going to perform in game number 3 of this series? He has to play well enough that his team has confidence in him. Now, I don't think there's any serious doubt by the Vegas Golden Knights and Marc-Andre Fleury after the first 2 games. He's had a great season. He's had an outstanding playoff, and I don't think they're ready to toss him aside. But he hasn't been as good as he has through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. Did the 1-week layoff make a big difference? But he's got to play well enough. If he makes a couple of big saves early in game number 3, that will give the Vegas Golden Knights a little bit of confidence and a little bit of reassurance that they can play their game, that they can do their thing, that they can be themselves. They can do what has gotten them to this point in the season, the chance to play for the Stanley Cup. If they get to relax and think, okay, Fleury's got this, even if we make a mistake, we're still good, that swings the momentum in favor of the Vegas Golden Knights. As I said, there has been a lot made about the save by Braden Holtby. Yes, it was very good. Yes, it was dramatic. Yes, it came at a critical point in the game. He lunged across the net. He saw what was going on, stuck his stick out, and he got it. It's a desperation play, and I'll talk to Corey Hirsch, more about this a little bit later on in the program. In that instance, it seems to me that is just absolute desperation. You realize what's happening, you have only one option, and you hope that you get it. Alex Tuch for the Vegas Golden Knights, rather than stop the puck and try to roof it up into the top of the net, he just tries to get it away as quickly as he can. Small margin of error in the Stanley Cup final. A desperation save, but it worked. Gives the goalie, gives his team confidence. Holtby, too, has to play the way that he can in game number 3 if the Washington Capitals are going to be successful and take the lead in the series. Huh? Washington take a lead in the series after only the 3rd game? Yeah, that's going to be something to watch for. Which goaltender do we get tonight for Braden Holtby? He's been very good going back to the series against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Eastern Conference Final. Last couple of games, he was outstanding. Got a little leaky, got a couple of bad bounces in game number 1 of the series. Seemed to return closer to that form in game number 2. How does he perform in game number 3? I'm anxious to see what else happens with the Vegas Golden Knights as well. They didn't play as well as we have seen them play through the series and through the playoffs. Remember during the previous series for the Vegas Golden Knights when they've been a little off, didn't play particularly well. It happened against Winnipeg. It happened against San Jose. They were just not quite themselves. A lot of focus has been on the Washington Capitals, and is Evgeny Kuznetsov going to play or isn't he going to play? Sure looks like he's going to play. Still said to be a game-time decision. But I'm wondering if this is the time where we see Vegas Golden Knights coach Gerard Gallant make a little lineup switch. Remember back against Winnipeg? Remember back against San Jose? His team didn't have their best game. They weren't quite themselves. Does he shuffle his lineup at this point? I don't mean just shuffling lines, but does he maybe shuffle personnel in and out of the lineup? I think that's going to be worth watching because no one has been talking about that or focusing on it. Everybody's been looking at, how's Kuznetsov? How's that arm, wrist, upper body, elbow, hand, whatever it is that's ailing him? A couple of other keys for game number 3 between the Washington Capitals and the Vegas Golden Knights set to go. Capital One Arena, puck drop a little bit after 8, actually probably closer to 8:30 with all the pregame hysteria. What's the level of physicality going to be in game number 3? Caps were able to use the body a little bit to dictate the style of play in game number 2 in Vegas. The Golden Knights, a little more speed-oriented, a little more hard forecheck-oriented, get on top of you, disrupt you. It was the Caps' physical play that at times disrupted the Vegas Golden Knights. Does that continue? And along those lines of physical play, this also becomes a key factor in the series. What impact are the officials going to have on tonight's game 3? And if you've watched the first 2 games of the series, you'll understand why I'm discussing this, because the officiating has continued its record of subpar performance in the postseason. I believe that the officials are going to be a little more assertive than they were in game 1, because you got the same combo tonight, Wes McCauley and Mark Joannette, who missed a whole bunch of calls in game number 1. They were terrible. I don't want to revisit the whole debate of the cross-check on the Ryan Reeves goal, the hit on Jonathan Marchessault by Tom Wilson that wasn't penalized until they decided to huddle and peek at the scoreboard. What are we going to see in game number 3? Those guys did a poor job in game number 1. And I suspect that Wes McCauley and Mark Joannette are going to be anxious to make up for it in game number 3. And the whistles will be used to stop play rather than just fashion accessories for the referees. How sad is that we are listing what the refs do and how they perform as an important factor in the game? However, it's true. It's important. It's significant. Hell, the league says they worry about the refs and we don't want any controversial calls and we're hopeful that they don't miss something. If that's not an indication that there might be a bit of an issue with officiating, well, then maybe we need to look a little closer at it. But I think all of these things are going to have an impact on game number 3 between the Washington Capitals and the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm not sure which way I'm leaning as to who has an advantage. You can make the case, it's Washington, they're the home team, but they've got a below 500 record. You can make the case, it's Vegas, they've been great on the road, they'll get away, they get to relax, but this is all new for Vegas. Give the Caps maybe a slight edge, but not much more. Whole bunch of other questions I want to look at in terms of game number 3, the whole Evgeny Kuznetsov dance about what is his injury, upper body. Is it serious? Is he going to play? Sure looks like he's going to play. Participated in the morning skate, took line rushes, said, we'll see, when actually made available today to the media. We'll see. We'll get into more of that coming up later on. Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press will join us a little bit later on this hour. Ken Boehlke will join us next from sinbin.vegas, a website devoted to the Vegas Golden Knights. We'll get the latest on the Knights. And I want to talk about Vegas and how they have welcomed and embraced this team. Joe Yerdon is at the NHL Combine. He will join us. Our friend Corey Hirsch to talk goaltending and much more. And Scott Burnside from The Athletic, all coming up as well. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Hashtag is HU Dog of the Day for your Dog of the Day nominations. Send them to us via Twitter, via Instagram using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and we will select a winner before the program concludes. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with Ken Boehlke from sinbin.vegas.com in our next segment.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Welcome back. It's the Saturday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Here Saturdays and Sundays, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app. Available now for download at the App Store free of cost. It's powered by Primetime Radio. Busy program coming up. Scott Burnside from The Athletic will join us. Corey Hirsch, former goaltender, Canucks analyst, former Olympian, and great guy will join us. Joe Yerdon is at the NHL Combine. The latest on the participants and what the Buffalo Sabres might be looking to do. Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press also coming up later on in the program. Ken Boehlke is from Vegas. Not originally from Vegas, but very few are, but has a cool website, sinbin.vegas, focusing on the Vegas Golden Knights. You can follow him on Twitter at Ken Boehlke and also at sinbinvegas. And Ken joins us now. Ken, you're not a Vegas original, but how did you come to start this site? And I guess it's just a testament as to how much the Vegas Golden Knights have taken over the city.
Well, I moved to Vegas like a lot of people because where I was not doing it for me, which was Chicago. So I decided to pick up and move out to Vegas. And I had a kind of a moment in the middle of the night where I realized that the team might actually be possible. And I figured I'd better do something to be involved. So I built the website out of nothing. And here we are at the Stanley Cup Finals in D.C. It's pretty crazy.
How amazing is that? A year ago, there were no players on the team. You had a general manager, you had a coach, they had some office staff. But to give us the sense that we've heard so much about Vegas. First of all, would hockey work in Vegas? But how the team has captured the city and just become part of the fabric of Las Vegas.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of turned into what I'd like to describe as like a college town. You absolutely have to know what's going on. If you don't know the score of the last game or the score of the series, you're basically a social outcast in Vegas at the moment. It's really the only thing that matters, and it's what everybody's paying attention to.
And this is something that's going to get talked about as we move through the summer months and head toward next year. But there's the thought that having such success in year number one, playing for the Stanley Cup, whether they win or not, how do they follow that up in year two, in year three, in year four? But I'm not seeing the downside myself. I think Vegas absolutely has established a significant foundation in the city, and they should be able to continue to grow from here.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I think it's a ridiculous concern. I think the fact that they're able to do as well as they've been able to do in the first year, it's gained a ton of fans, and it's got a lot of people that weren't necessarily going to be diehard fans. They turn into diehard fans, and they're going to be there forever. So whether it's the success on the ice or off the ice, I think it's the best thing you can do in sports is win. And here they are, 3 wins away from winning the Stanley Cup. Why would you ever want to put a negative spin on that?
Yeah, understandable. Now, we have seen through the playoffs this year and in the past that fans travel to catch their team in the postseason. Has that started to happen because, and that was the thing I was wondering about, because it's new, have Vegas fans started to follow their team on the road?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a little more difficult to get up to Winnipeg or to get out here to D.C., but there's certainly Vegas fans that travel to L.A. and to San Jose, and they've been all over the place with the Golden Knights basically the entire season. So, yeah, I mean, it's not going to be quite at the level of like an original 6 team or something of that sort, but, yeah, you're going to see a lot of them.
Yeah, and that's understandable. It seems as though the great thing about the Vegas Golden Knights, too, is that they were dubbed the Misfits by James Neal, and it's not just the players who happen to be in the lineup, but there's other players on the roster who haven't seen much action in this postseason, but they seem to feel as though they're as big a part of the team as the players that are playing 10, 15, 20 minutes a night, whatever it is.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, every single guy in this roster, they were let go from somewhere else. They were basically given another chance, and whether you're on the ice in the postseason or you are waiting for that chance. I mean, you've had guys like Tomas Tatar stepped in and he scored a goal against Winnipeg. Ryan Reeves stepped in and he scores back-to-back games in the Western Conference Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals after getting no goals his entire season with the Golden Knights. So it's just a collection of guys that are in place in a better opportunity than they were. And even the guys that are healthy scratched at this point, a lot of them are in even better situations, maybe one rung higher than they would necessarily have been without the Golden Knights being a franchise.
And it seems as though there has been just having the opportunity was the ticket for so many of these players on the roster.
No doubt about it. There's just a better chance, more minutes, better minutes, or however it happens to be. There's no doubt about it that it's just getting better and better for every single guy.
Ken Boehlke is with us, the creator of Sinbin.Vegas, a website covering and following the Vegas Golden Knights as they pursue a Stanley Cup in year number 1, which still sounds funny to me. I want to go back and talk about the experience in Vegas a little bit too. There are some from outside that were a bit critical of the big pregame lead up and the big pregame show. I think it's fantastic. I think it's absolutely perfect that they have captured the essence of what the city is, that has shows and has a dramatic flair. And it seems as though the residents have welcomed it and thought it's pretty fantastic too.
I just think it's Vegas. If you're going to let Vegas in the league, let Vegas be Vegas. And that's what it is. There's ridiculous shows. We have massive fountains, and our fountains talk. And there's stupid shows and cool shows. And there's wacky performers and great performers and unbelievable stuff that happens every single day. And if you're going to let Vegas into the league, you got to let Vegas be Vegas. And they've done an unbelievable job of mixing hockey with Vegas, with whatever this medieval times night related stuff that goes on. They found a way to kind of make it all fit together, and it creates an atmosphere that is unlike any other. And what else could you ask for through the NHL? You want something different, and they've got it.
Do you think that they're starting to have an effect, or will have an effect, on the rest of the league in terms of forcing them to at least look at and understand that, hey, you know what, we have to make our in-building experience a little better? Not necessarily the same as the Vegas Golden Knights. I don't think it should be, but they have to do a better job for their fans.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can recreate what Vegas has created. There's no doubt about that. But I think every team's got to kind of look at it and think, are we doing enough? You know, you look at Nashville last year and kind of the story that they created, and then Winnipeg early in the playoffs this year, and now what Vegas has done. I think you got to look at it and think, is there something else we can do? Is there something more we can do to make this a better experience and make sure that whether the home team wins or loses, that you're making it a great experience for every single person that's showing up? It's easier said than done, but a lot of teams should be looking at Vegas because they've been pretty darn good at doing it.
Completely agree. A couple of things I want to ask you about too in terms of the game. One of the keys for Vegas is to play the way Vegas has for so much of the playoffs and so much for the regular season. I think they got away from that in game number 2 of the series and suffered a rare loss on home ice. It just didn't seem that they were able to take advantage of their speed at times. Do you agree, or is there something else that we maybe need to look at from Vegas in game number 3 tonight?
I'm completely with you. I think when they wound up getting behind, they wound up playing a game where they're worried a little bit more of not having the turnovers in the neutral zone rather than playing that fast, quick game through the neutral zone and gaining entry into the zone. I think that they just didn't quite have the same quickness that they normally have, and they've got to get back to it. And when you don't have that quickness, you're not going to create the turnovers that the Golden Knights feast off of. If you go back and look at that game, I think from about midway through the second period all the way through the end of the game, I believe there was one turnover that the Capitals had. Vegas cannot win a game when they do that.
Yeah, and it's the Vegas aggressive forecheck that is just such a disruptor and is essential for their success as well. And I guess if you have the lead, as Vegas did briefly in game number 1, it makes it much easier to play that kind of game.
Yeah, it completely disappeared. The second they went behind, it completely disappeared. That can't happen. And it's interesting because when they went behind in other series, when they went behind against Winnipeg, which happened a number of times, they was tied a number of times, they never went behind. But when they went behind against San Jose, it wasn't like that. It didn't disappear. And they've got to do a better job of making sure that it does not disappear tonight for the entire game. Otherwise, they're going to wind up on the wrong side of the scoreboard again because this is a very good Washington team with a really good goalie.
Does it benefit Vegas to have a couple of days off between game number 2 and 3? I mean, I guess you can argue it both ways. A couple of days gives Alex Tuck and the rest of the team a chance to put that whole big dramatic save behind them, or does it sort of percolate until you get into game number 3?
I think as from both teams' perspective, it's not going to make a huge difference, but I do think that if there was one fewer day for Evgeny Kuznetsov to figure out what's going on with him, I don't know if he's going to play or not. The extra day probably helped heal whatever's going on with him. So in that sense, it's probably a negative for the Golden Knights. But we're not here to feast off injuries or anything of that sort. So I hope he plays. I hope he plays like he can, and I hope the Golden Knights can find a way to beat them even with their best players in the game.
The other thought I had with Vegas for tonight's game 3 against the Washington Capitals was at a couple of times previously against Winnipeg he did it, and against San Jose he did it. Gerard Gallant shook up his lineup, moving a few players in and out. Do you see that as a possibility for tonight?
I don't think they're going to do it tonight. I think it may come in game 4 if they don't have the success that they're hoping that they have in this game. I think he could go down that route. I think that John Merrill's a guy that I could see getting back into the lineup, maybe for Luka Spiza. I haven't really thought Ryan Carpenter's been great. I think that David Perron's actually not having the best playoffs thus far, so he could possibly find his way out. Maybe a Tomas Tatar comes back in. There's definitely some things that Gallant can do, but I don't expect to see them tonight. I think it would be more so if they were to lose their second game in a row
and really go behind in the series. All right, I'm interested to see what happens. Ken Boehlke is our guest, creator of Sinbin.Vegas, at Ken Boehlke, at SinbinVegas, to follow him on Twitter. Good stuff today, Ken. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the Stanley Cup final. I hope we can talk again soon.
Will do. I hope we're talking after a parade.
Fair enough. Ken Boehlke, Sinbin.Vegas is the website to check out. It is everything Vegas and Vegas Golden Knights coverage of the Vegas. So it's pretty cool and says so much about how the community has welcomed and embraced the professional hockey team, that this all started, came together in such quick fashion, and now they're covering the Stanley Cup final. It's just an extension of what a great story the Vegas Golden Knights have become in and around not just the National Hockey League, but the sporting world as well. Getting set for game number 3 between the Capitals and the Vegas Golden Knights. I still have more questions about what to look for tonight, some things I'm going to be keeping an eye on for game number 3, now that the series has shifted to D.C. from Las Vegas. couple of days off versus just 1 day off between? Does it help one team more than the other? I don't know. Maybe in the Evgeny Kuznetsov case, because he gets an extra day to recover from whatever malady is ailing him. We'll dive. Associated Press will join us in just a little bit. Joe Yerdon is covering the NHL Combine that is taking place in Buffalo. He will join us as well. Corey Hirsch coming up to talk goaltending, NHL, Vegas, Stanley Cup, and much more. And Scott Burnside from The Athletic also coming up later on the program. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Much more to come on the Saturday edition. Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press will join us right after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Saturday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis continues. Lots to get into as we prepare for game number 3 of the Stanley Cup Final with the Vegas Golden Knights and the Washington Capitals. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Busy with guests the rest of the way. Joe Yerdon at the NHL Combine will join us. Corey Hirsch, former NHL goaltender, goalie coach, will join us. Canucks radio analyst, and Scott Burnside from The Athletic, all coming up on the program. Happy to welcome back our friend from the Associated Press who covers the National Hockey League. You could follow him on Twitter at Whyno, and Stephen Whyno joins us on the line now. Stephen, before we talk about the Cup Final and the Caps and Vegas, I want to ask you about a terrific piece that we saw a couple of days ago from you following Commissioner Gary Bettman and kind of giving you a little insight into his day and what's involved and how many things he's involved with. Is there anything in particular about this piece, which I thought was terrific, that surprised you about the Commissioner?
Yeah, there's a certain part of his ability to kind of balance his life that fascinates me, and how much he works and still you talk to everybody around him, and he's like, he spends a lot of time with his grandkids, has a kind of a daily routine that's almost normal for somebody who's in such an abnormal job. And not to say Gary Bettman's perfect. I mean, I try to get to a little bit of kind of the flaws of his career too, but he's a human being and loves dark chocolate Milky Way bars and loves walking his dogs, and it's incredible just kind of how he finds enough hours in the day to be able to do everything he does, and I guess not have his family hate him. I think it's his family loves him, and there's a real kind of dedication there that I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, that's a thing I've heard and read about too, is that there are stories of whether it's general managers or owners or someone sending him an email at all hours of the day and night, and when you do it, expect to get a reply, because he always seems to be working. And this is not a judgment of whether you think he's done a good job or a bad job. It's just his dedication. I don't think you can deny to what he's given to the NHL.
Yeah, and he's almost, as Bill Daly described, notorious for kind of being on all the time and always being responsive and having a cell phone. And he told me he likes to golf every once in a while to kind of unwind, but he doesn't put his cell phone away on the golf course. He doesn't put it in his pocket and come back to 8,000 messages when he's done a round. He wants to play a quick round of golf, and he always has a cell phone nearby, because he feels like, especially for owners, works for them, and he's on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and very rarely finds any time to unplug.
Yeah, and so when he delivered his State of the League address prior to game number one, as he traditionally does at the Stanley Cup final, there was a lot of things to be excited and pleased and proud about in terms of what's gone on in the NHL, with Vegas having incredible first-year success. The salary cap is expecting to going up, so things look very positive in a number of ways for the league moving forward into the 18-19 season.
Yeah, and I find what the success of Vegas and the salary cap going up reminded me of is Ryan Getzlaf in New York before the season sat down with him and talked about Vegas, and he said it's kind of in everyone's best interest in the league for Vegas to be a good team. And I don't think no one expected this, but he's like, kind of a rising tide lifts all boats, and that the salary cap is going up in part because of Vegas' success. This is a team that's gotten a lot of revenue in there, not only just the $500 million expansion fee that Bill Foley paid to owners, but the gate money from playoffs and everything else kind of surrounding Vegas. It's certainly helped the business of the league. It's helped the exposure of the league. I think in the United States, to have a team in Vegas do this as successfully and make it to a Stanley Cup final, that now I think you look at a Seattle and you look at a future and think, yeah, I don't know if the team's going to be as good as this, but the NHL sure will be happy to expand again to 32 teams, given how successful Vegas was.
Oh, well, sure. I don't expect that. There were a lot of things that went right for the Vegas franchise for them to have this kind of success. I think it's unrealistic for people in Seattle to expect this same kind of success. They'll have a good team, and I think maybe we'll realize that, yes, they're successful in making them a competitive team right away. But I think it's completely unrealistic to think that they're going to have the same kind of season.
Oh, sure. And part of that, I also think, is general managers aren't going to make the same mistakes they made with George McPhee ahead of the expansion draft. They're not going to panic about trying to protect certain players and make these deals. And you look at Chuck Fletcher in Minnesota, you could argue he lost his job in large part because of some of those moves, including trading Alex Tuck and letting Eric Howell go to save Jonas Brodin or save Matt Dumba. And there's some, I guess, reasonable decisions there. But I think speaking of Jarmo Kekalainen later in the season, he made one of those trades too. And I think when Seattle comes around, teams are just going to say, take our guy. It's fine. They can. Seattle, whoever is running that franchise out of the gate, is going to have a good team, but they're not going to get the kind of incentive George McPhee was able to squeeze out of his other 30 colleagues.
Stephen Whyno is our guest, covers the National Hockey League for the Associated Press, at @Whyno, that's with a Y, to follow him on Twitter. Okay, so let's jump into game number 3 and the Stanley Cup final a little bit. Has there been enough attention given to the save by Braden Holtby, do you think, or should we talk about that a little more?
I mean, we can keep talking about it. I mean, Braden Holtby doesn't really want he doesn't think it's that big a deal, incredibly, that as great of a save as it was. But yeah, I mean, it what makes it such an incredible save is not just how great it was, but it's phenomenal, the timing of the save. That's the thing that even Braden Holtby is willing to concede of this is why, because of the moment, because of the fact that this came in with a few minutes left in a Stanley Cup final game, and that's in that the timing had to be perfect. probably goes in 99 times out of 100. But just at that moment to be able to make that kind of save, that's what makes it even more impressive.
It was a very good save. It was a desperation save by Braden Holtby. He sees what's happening in the play. He lunges over and he catches it, and it doesn't go in. So it's significant. But after game number 3, if Washington loses and Vegas is on top in the series 2-1, are we talking much about that series or about that save as the series moves forward? Just as we're not talking about Lars Eller having a similar opportunity to put a puck into an open net late in game number 1 to tie the game because he got poleaxed by I believe it was Braden McNabb and there was no slash called. I mean, we could have been talking about that, but I think it's the perspective is off a little bit on how big a deal it is yet.
Yeah, and we'll be able to judge that. Well later. I mean, if it happens within the series, there's already talk in DC about how it would be the greatest, where would rank among the Washington sports plays and moments, and John Riggin sort of number 1, and Braden Holtby's save might be number 2. But sure, if Vegas comes back and win the series, we're not going to be talking about that as much. But we still watch the highlight. I mean, it's still incredible to watch, but the importance of it was to even the series at a game apiece. And now let's see what Holtby and the Capitals have left.
Yeah, that's exactly it. All indications are Evgeny Kuznetsov is going to play tonight. He skated this morning. He's kind of given the indication. Well, we'll see, but it sure looks like he's playing.
Yeah, he's playing, and I don't think there was any question about that. As soon as we saw him on the ice for optional practice yesterday, and his durability is something Matt just said yesterday. For the way Kuznetsov is built, he's a sneaky tough guy in what he's been able to play through. And this is not the first time he's had moments where we think he's out, we think he's injured for a long period of time, whether it's a hit to the head or now this, that he bounces back and I think it speaks to kind of just how tough and durable Evgeny Kuznetsov is. That he took that hit. He wanted to come back the other night. The Capitals played it really super cautious and not bringing him back. And now he's going to be good to go.
Yeah, and the other injury that hasn't got nearly as much attention is the whack on the hand that Brooks Orpik took late in the game. It was a nasty slash, required a bunch of stitches. That was actually kind of gross when he took the glove off, and there was a lot of blood there. Yeah,
and that left pinky finger is I think it's probably broken. He had it wrapped pretty tightly yesterday when he didn't skate. They're taking care of that, but he's going to play. I mean, and given the kind of games he plays, it's not like they need him to score. It's not like they need him to fire a snipe shot. So for a guy like Brooks Orpik, I don't know that he's going to be particularly damaged by an injury like this. And just like Kuznetsov, tough guy and kind of willing to play through the pain.
The other thing I'm interested to see is what we get from Vegas. Now the series is even. They lost a game at home. It's been a couple of days. They're headed on the road. Marc-Andre Fleury was almost invincible through the first few rounds of the playoffs, but he's looked a little more human in the first couple of games of this series.
Yeah, he's looked human, and you almost wonder if this is gonna happen. Like, it was unsustainable how good Marc-Andre Fleury was in that Winnipeg series and so far in the playoffs. And he's probably a 920 goaltender. He was playing as a 950 save percentage goaltender, and certainly he's been better than the 870 that's on the board now through 2 games of the series. But I don't know that I necessarily blame him for anything the Capitals have done much in this series, except for maybe the goal he kicked in. But he certainly hasn't been the unstoppable, unbeatable goalie we saw in the first 3 rounds.
No, and I think that he's got to get back closer to that for Vegas to have any chance in the rest of this series.
Yeah, it's certainly if Braden Holtby plays like this, he does. And goals are, and after game 1, it's amazing we're talking about this as a goaltending tool again. After both goals coming out to try a lot in game 1, but Braden Holtby played so well in game 2. The save aside, that Marc-Andre Fleury is going to probably have to get back to that, because we've seen a few more holes open up in the Golden Knights defense, and they're going to need Fleury to make some of those superhuman saves.
Now, have you noticed something too about in game number 2? It happened a little bit in game number 1, but it seemed as if Washington's attack on Marc-Andre Fleury was to move the puck from side to side, from one side of the boards, one side of the ice to the other, to get him moving. That seemed to be a key point in their attack against him.
And it's a lot of what the Capitals do regularly. They like to get goaltenders moving laterally. It's how they create chances. They get outshot a lot because they wait for those kind of shots, and they don't care as much about shot quantity as shot quality. And it's worked on Fleury so far in getting him to move side to side. And look, a couple of the goals the Capitals have scored, Fleury's been nowhere near the net. And I think it's a testament to either something the Capitals exploited in Vegas defense, or just the Capitals' ability to kind of get Fleury off his game more so than any of the other teams he's faced so far.
The other quick one I want to ask you about, Stephen, before I let you go, is that the whole Vegas pregame show and stuff, it was very Las Vegas. It was perfect. Is it going to deviate much from what the Caps normally do leading up to this game? The concert tonight is Sting and Shaggy prior to the game, but I don't know that we're going to see an overblown pregame show the way we did in Vegas.
Oh, I think they're going to try. We're not going to have a fortress and a night on the ice, but we're going to have Pat Sajak doing the introductions with a Wheel of Fortune style theme. I think the Capitals are eager to try to maybe not match Vegas, but the Capitals pregame show has been really cool. They've done the Imagine Dragons, they've done the on ice projections, but I think after what Vegas has done in these playoffs and in the Stanley Cup final with this pregame show, I think Washington and the Capitals are looking to stage something similar to try to at least keep up with what Vegas has done.
Interesting. Pat Sajak, I know he is a big hockey fan. He's been a big hockey fan for a long time, but I'm curious to see how that all plays out. Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press covering the NHL at @SWhyno is how you follow him on Twitter. Enjoy the game tonight, Stephen. Thanks for the time as always. It was terrific, and I hope we do it again soon.
Thanks, Todd. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Stephen Whyno from the Associated Press. Pat Sajak doing the whole Wheel of Fortune thing at the game this evening at Capital One Center. I'm not sure are they going to make a Wheel of Fortune wheel at center ice that's going to spin around and names are going to light up? I don't know. It's not Michael Buffer the way they had in Vegas, but hey, Pat Sajak. All right, that's an interesting choice. It's an interesting selection. I'm not going against it because Pat Sajak is a big hockey fan. That I will say, he has been a long time NHL hockey fan. So, all right, I'm intrigued. I'm anxious to see. Sting and Shaggy are the pregame entertainment. I think it's Fall Out Boy who's doing game number 4. We'll talk a little bit more about pregames and entertainment and stuff coming up before the top of the hour. Lots to get into, including word from Joe Yerdon at the NHL Combine in Buffalo. Corey Hirsch, former NHL goaltender and goalie coach, Canucks radio analyst, will join us. And Scott Burnside from The Athletic also coming up on the program. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis Saturday edition continues right after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial Design, Mechanical Engineering and Design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Saturday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis continues. It's been a busy first hour. Lots to get into in hour number 2. Much more to come on game number 3 of the Stanley Cup final between Vegas and Washington. We'll talk a little bit more about the lineups as they look for both teams. Not expecting anything changing for the Washington Capitals after their pregame skate. Evgeny Kuznetsov was out. He participated. All looks fine. Gave a little indecisive, well, we'll see, when asked about whether or not he was playing, but expect him to play. Skated this morning, skated at practice yesterday, looked a little uncomfortable at first yesterday, but not really enough to make a big deal about what kind of performance he has. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm expecting him to play. For Vegas, again, does Gerard Gallant make a little change? Does he make a little shuffle? It's one of the things that I'm kind of thinking about and looking forward to. I'm also anxious to see what kind of pregame and lead up we have for game number 3 in Washington. As mentioned, things have shifted from Vegas to DC. I don't know. It's a completely different city. It's a completely different personality. I love the pregame in Vegas. I think it's been great all through the postseason. They went up another notch in game number 1 and 2 of the Stanley Cup final. Having Michael Buffer come out in game number 1 is terrific. I thought it was perfectly Vegas. It was dramatic. It was over the top. It was, yeah, just about everything you want. It was fun. It was completely fitting with the personality of the city. I was okay with that. There were a lot of people, though, that were kind of cranky, kind of whiny about it, saying, what are they doing? Drop the puck already. Some of the social media comments. What is this? That's not hockey. It's fun. It's different. You're right. But why do hockey people feel the need to be critical of something that's the least bit different or fun? Don't we always talk about, oh, I wish players would give us a real answer to a question as opposed to the cliches that they spew out back to back? Isn't that what we crave for? An actual answer, some actual personality? And then when someone provides it, like Vegas in their pregame show, oh, what's that crap all about? We don't need that. That's not hockey. I loved it. I thought it was terrific. It was perfectly Vegas. If Carolina did that, or Columbus did that, or Colorado, I'm picking all the C teams. I don't know why, but it wouldn't fit. But because it's Las Vegas, it fits. For those that are saying, oh, well, what's it taking so long to get to the puck drop? We got the night skating out on the ice, and we got arrows being shot, and we got introductions. Turn your TV on 12 minutes later and you miss all that. Catch the anthems if you want, which I thought were terrific. Just turn your TV on 10 minutes later. Miss all that stuff if you really don't want to see it, if you're that much against it. But I'm curious as to what happens with Vegas. As Stephen Whyno of the Associated Press was just telling us that yes, Pat Sajak is going to do the player introductions for game number 3. I don't know. Are they spinning a Wheel of Fortune wheel? Is Vanna White going to be there too? They seem to be a team. They've been together for, decades now. Super successful. I get it. Is it going to be something that's more fitting with the DC personality? Maybe a bunch of 70-year-old politicians posing for TV cameras and trying to get on with their soundbite to criticize an opposing point of view and then not pass any legislation that people are passionate about? I don't know. The show will be good, though. It'll be exciting. It'll be loud. It'll be a good fan experience, I guess. Vegas is not for every NHL city. I get it. But I love the guys wearing the LED glasses on the drum line, the video presentation. It was great. Imagine Dragons coming out and performing on the ice right before the game. Good for them. That was terrific. They're from Vegas. They want to be part of it. That's why they were there. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. But we're going to have games 3 and 4 in DC tonight and Monday. And then we got a few nights off again before things return to Vegas for game number 5. And we know we're going back for game number 5. So the planning should already be underway for what's going to happen pregame in Vegas for game number 5. Imagine Dragons are from Vegas. They wanted to be in. Good for them. Showing the support for their city. So how about, since we're going back to Vegas for game number 5, how about the Killers from fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, as they like to say at their shows? You up for a quick pregame set? Love to see that. Maybe do something out on the plaza out front of the building. Come out, do a quick number on the ice. I've watched Vegas games throughout the season. They're playing your latest album, playing the man a lot. I'm hearing it. Come out, perform that. I checked. Your concert schedule doesn't conflict. You're open on that night. You can get back out on the road and make your shows. How about it, Killers? I'd like to see it. Game number 5, Thursday, 7th of June. You don't have a concert that night. Fly in, fly out, quick show. I'm good with it. I don't know. It's the pregame and the show and the lead up. It's all part of the build up and the excitement. It was tremendous in Vegas. It should be fun in DC this evening. I'm anxious to see what kind of game we get from both teams. There's a lot of questions and areas that I'm interested in, things I'm a little focused on. I think there's a lot of noise been made about Evgeny Kuznetsov and how serious that injury was. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Sure looks like he's going to play. Skated this morning, took the line rushes, perhaps a little bit of discomfort when he returned to practice on Friday, but I think he should be good to go. Does anything else happen with the Caps lineup? I doubt it. But maybe it does for Vegas. We've seen Gerard Gallant kind of shuffle players in and out a little bit. Maybe we'll see that. Series is even at 1 apiece. Vegas isn't behind. But maybe he makes that bold move to shuffle his lineup a little bit. Not just the lines, but shuffle players in and out of the lineup. Brian Reeves has been good since he went in. Thomas Tatar, when he has been inserted, he's had a big impact on games. Maybe this is the time they could use a little bit of that. We'll talk a little bit more about the Caps, Vegas Golden Knights. We'll dive into a little bit of the NHL Combine coming up in our next hour as well when Joe Yerdon from NHL.com joins us. He also covers the Buffalo Sabres, so we'll talk about Rasmus Dahlin and a few other things. Corey Hirsch, former NHL goalie and coach and Canucks radio analyst, coming up in the next hour. And Scott Burnside from The Athletic also will join us in hour number 2. Don't forget, send us your nominations. Hashtag is HU Dog of the Day. Send them via Twitter, via Instagram, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. Good one from Sean. Dog, I think he's looking out the window, but I'm not really sure. Send them to us. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Hour number 2 continues after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Hour number 2 of the Saturday program, a busy one, loaded up with guests. Got you covered on all things involving Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final. Vegas Golden Knights in D.C. to take on the Caps. Scott Burnside from The Athletic will join us a little bit later on this hour. We'll get the latest on both teams. Corey Hirsch will be with us as well. Looking forward to that. It's been a while since we've had Corey join us on the program. We'll talk a little goaltending. Both goaltenders, a bit of a story in these playoffs and in this series, now going head-to-head. Holtby and the save. Marc-Andre Fleury hasn't been that great in the Stanley Cup Finals first couple of games. We'll talk about that and a few other things with Corey Hirsch. And Joe Yerdon is covering the NHL Combine. He also covers the Buffalo Sabres for NHL.com. Joe will join us a little bit later on this hour. We'll get the latest on all of the participants at the NHL Combine that's taken place in Buffalo and the activities and physical tasks that they are put through. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Yeah, we'll be back on Sunday morning at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. We will digest all that takes place in game number 3. One team will have an advantage, the other team will be trailing, and I'm kind of anxious to see what we get in game number 3 between the Caps and the Vegas Golden Knights. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. That's where we're looking for your nominations as well for the HU Dog of the Day. That's our hashtag, HU Dog of the Day. We ask you to nominate your dog, a dog you love, as our Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. Something we do every Saturday. People send us pictures of their dogs. Tell us your name, your dog's name, the story of how you two met and came together. We like to honor and recognize great dogs. We'll post the picture up on our website, up on our Facebook page, and through our social media channels, and we'll pick a winner before the hour is out. So I'm looking forward to Game 3, as I mentioned. I don't know what kind of pregame show that we'll have. Pat Sajak is involved. Cool. He's a big hockey fan. He's a knowledgeable hockey guy. That's fine. It'll be different than Vegas. I don't know. Some of the enthusiasm that we've seen in Vegas has transferred over to DC, and understandable when you get into the Cup Final. Saw a picture of the Lincoln Monument the other day wearing a Caps jersey. Okay, that's good. They had one on the Statue of Liberty in Vegas. I like that stuff. It's kind of fun. We've had 2 days off between Game 2 and Game 3. We'll get a single day off ahead of Game 4, and then there's another longer break as the travel schedule. I guess it's okay since it's a cross-country flight from D.C. to Vegas to have an extra day off for travel. It does get out of the routine, and I know that there are some that get bent out of shape about that. It's all about exposure. It's all about TV, in particular U.S. TV, and what they want and when, and building availability coupled with that. But it's about getting the biggest possible audience for your Cup Final on television. It's on network TV. You want the biggest possible audience. And that's why the games start at 8:25-ish, 8:26 by the time the puck drops, and they're on U.S. networks. That's what it's all about. Sure, the game, competition, winning the Stanley Cup, working so hard all year to get there. But from the league perspective, they want as many eyeballs and ears tuned in as they can get. That's why they're in control of how this plays out. I don't think it's a big deal to either team. It probably helps Evgeny Kuznetsov a little extra time to rest. He'll play tonight. Skated this morning, skated at practice yesterday. He should be fine. The injury that wasn't talked much about, Brooks Orpik, got whacked across the hand late in the game. Looked nasty, looked kind of gross as it was bleeding. He took his glove off. Yeah. Actually, blood doesn't bother me as much as someone throwing up, but it didn't look all that pleasant if you're a little squeamish. He'll be okay. I don't expect him to be a goal-scoring machine the way he was in game number 2. Not that was the most wicked snipe you've ever seen. Bouncing off a Knights player and then off both posts before it went in. I'm watching to see if we see the Vegas team that has been so successful all season and through the playoffs. First and foremost, Vegas is defense first. I know it sounds a little curious because of seeing them score, seeing them capitalize, but defense first for Vegas was the key to their success. Real strict discipline, very structured. It leads to offensive opportunities. Coaches talk about this all the time. Vegas bought in, accepted it, and were successful with it. The chances that they have been created, they capitalized on at an absolutely ridiculous rate. Absolutely crazy. Ask Winnipeg about that. That's why they've been so successful. If there was a turnover, if there was a chance created by good structure, good defense, it wound up in the back of the net. In game 2, Vegas Golden Knights got flummoxed by the Capitals. They managed to get the puck into the Vegas zone, sustained some pressure, and it disrupted them, caused them all kinds of stress. Instead of getting the puck out quickly and transitioning to an offensive role, Vegas was forced to spend much more time in their zone defending, trying to create an opportunity to get the puck out and get it moving across the blue line and toward the other goal. That's what hurt them. Washington was a little more physical in their approach. That helped disrupt them. They were a little more vigilant on the forecheck as well. We'll see if it shifts back in the other direction and Vegas can get back on their game and doing what has been more successful for them. I'm really curious to see how the Caps react to playing at home. A whole bunch has been made about their home record, which sure hasn't been terrific during the postseason. As we head into Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final, Caps are 4-5 on home ice. Not particularly noteworthy. Now, there are some that are immediately pointing and saying, yeah, okay, they're 4-5. They played 9 games on home ice, and they've got a below 500 record. But you know what? The first 2 losses of the Caps on home ice came in games number 1 and 2 of their opening round series against the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's when Philip Grubauer was in, that he started the postseason for the Washington Capitals, and they wound up losing those 2 games when they shifted back to Braden Holtby, and things went along swimmingly from there. Yeah, but much like the crowd in the Western Conference Final, with Winnipeg, they had a lot of excited and robust crowds, but I think they felt the pressure. And maybe Washington's feeling that a little bit too. Even though this isn't the season of expectation the way it has been the last couple of years. Fans love them, they're excited, they're enthusiastic, but it inadvertently creates a little pressure on the team. I think that's what happened with Winnipeg. Washington's got to find a way to accept that rather than feel it's a burden. The location shift, it might be good for Vegas. They get out on the road, only focus on the game, think about it. Golden Knights return to a simple game. Maybe that's it. And yes, Washington did lose the first 2 games when Philip Grubauer was in net. But you know what? They also lost back-to-back games on home ice against the Tampa Bay Lightning with Braden Holtby in net. So, yeah, you have to look at the home record. It is significant. Mentioned this in the last hour, and I will be watching this because I think it's going to be a storyline that's worth keeping an eye on. What impact are the officials going to have on tonight's game? I believe they will have a significant role in what kind of game we see. It's the game one combination of Wes McCauley and Mark Joannette that will be refereeing game number 3, just as they did in game. Well, they will be on the ice and they will be the referees of record in game number 3. I do not believe it will be just as they did in game number 1. They wore whistles, but rarely used them. I suspect that Wes McCauley and Mark Joannette will be a little stricter in what is called and not be as content to let things run amok and get out of control the way they did in game number 1. I'm not suggesting that the officials decided the outcome of game number 1. I think that's too far reaching. But to say they did not have an impact on the game is denial. When you do not call a blatant cross-check by Ryan Reeves in front of the net that leads to a goal, you are having an impact on the outcome of the game. And this is perhaps the best illustration of why you should call the penalties as they are defined in the rule book. Did they miss it or didn't they call it? I don't care. It was a mistake. And it was one of many by the referees and officials. The late hit by Tom Wilson on Jonathan Marchessault. It was late. There was not going to be a penalty called. Play was stopped later when there was another offense committed. Yeah, when there was another offense committed. That was when David Perron jumped onto the ice and cross-checked Alex Ovechkin. He was penalized at that point. The Tom Wilson hit wasn't being penalized until the discussion group amongst the 4 officials took place, and I suspect someone saw it on the screen at center ice and thought, oh, we better get that one. And coincidentally, it just happens to even things up. You legitimately could have made a case for David Perron getting a 10-game suspension for jumping on the ice and trying to escalate and start an altercation. Oh, and how about the chance late in the game where Lars Eller was coming in on goal, had the chance to tie it, and it looked like maybe he missed the shot? Oh, no. He was whacked with a full two-hander by Braden McNabb. Clobbered it. That was a penalty. So I'm anxious to see what kind of impact tonight's referees will have on the game, because I do expect they will have one. Wes McCauley, Mark Joannette, they were awful in game number 1. They will make their presence known a little more quickly in game number 3. Will it be as physical? I don't know. You won't be able to take runs at guys. You would expect that if a guy comes across the ice the way Tom Wilson did and wallops Jonathan Marchessault long after the puck is gone, you'll hope that they catch that. Can Braden Holtby gain the confidence from the save in game number 2 and carry it forward? We'll see. Does Marc-Andre Fleury bounce back and play a better game than he has in the first 2? Little bit of tough luck, but he hasn't looked as good as he has in previous series. His first 3 series in the postseason were absolutely unbelievable. And if Vegas is going to have a chance to win this series against the Washington Capitals, he has to play better. Not to say he has to have a .950 save percentage the way he did through the first 3 series. It was .947, I guess, so just under .950. I don't think he has to be that good, but he's got to be better. He hasn't been very good in the first 2 games. Couple of bad bounces, just as they were in game number 1 for Braden Holtby. Part of that was ice. There's the other thing for game number 3. The ice in Vegas was terrible. Will it be better for game number 3? It was better in game number 2, still wasn't great. Is it going to be better in DC? one of the many things to keep an eye on. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles, looking for your Dog of the Day nominations. Hashtag is HU Dog of the Day. Coming up later on this hour, Scott Burnside from The Athletic will join us. We'll talk about the save, the Caps, the Vegas Golden Knights, and season number 1. Corey Hirsch will join us as well to talk a little goaltending, and Joe Yerdon covering the NHL Combine coming up right after the break. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Much more to come in our next segment.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Hour number 2 of the Saturday program, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, continues. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Still looking for your nominations for the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Look forward to your photos that you send to us via Twitter, via Instagram. You can email them as well, Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Tell us your dog's name, your name, how you two met, came together. Yeah, we like those stories. We like to honor and recognize great dogs. We pick a winner every Saturday. We'll put the picture up in the gallery on our website. It goes up on our Facebook page and through our social media channels. Looking forward to that as well. Lots going on in the National Hockey League. Of course, we're getting set for game number 3 between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Washington Capitals. Looks like everybody's on the ice. Everything should be fine with the Washington Capitals forward Evgeny Kuznetsov and Brooks Orpik. Don't see any issues with the Vegas Golden Knights as well so far through any of the social media posts. I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the injuries with Brooks Orpik and Evgeny Kuznetsov. Friday, Kuznetsov skated, he practiced, everything was fine, was not made available to the media because he hasn't been medically cleared to play yet, according to Capitals head coach Barry Trotz. Probably a game time decision. Who among us isn't a game time decision? Who among us isn't day to day? There should be some sort of formal requirement, shouldn't there, for status like this? Shouldn't you, especially when you get to the Stanley Cup final? Injuries this time of year, even for some teams throughout the year. Players are hurting, everybody's got a little something, but there's no real policy about disclosing injuries, announcing lineups, etc., except that teams are required to submit their lineup shortly before the start of the game. Some teams, some coaches, some GMs are better about it than others. Some still treat it like it's a DEFCON 1 super secret military launch code, cone of silence kind of thing when talking about injuries. Oh, can't say anything. They'll reluctantly give you the upper body, lower body kind of thing. Others are much more transparent, don't see it as a big advantage. There is so much that is visible now with every game being on TV, and especially at this time of year when you got 10,000 cameras watching practice as well as the game coverage from every angle, plus social media on top of that. There isn't much that gets by without someone noticing it or catching it. You don't know the severity of it, just as Evgeny Kuznetsov is perhaps the best example. He left game number 2. Oh, that doesn't look good. People are speculating that, oh my gosh, it's a serious injury. It's his arm, it's his wrist, it's his shoulder. He's done for the season. And all you get is speculation. And from the Caps, it was, well, it's an upper body injury, and we'll probably list him as day-to-day. Have we not reached the point where this is perhaps a little bit over the top and a little bit unnecessary? I'll go back through the playoffs. I went and found a few examples of different situations where there was a different approach to injuries. Going all the way back to the Bruins and Leafs series, nobody finds out that Patrice Bergeron is going to miss the game until he doesn't show up for the warm-up. Half an hour before the game. Nobody has a clue. Okay, if you can get away with that, that's fine. Pens and Caps series, second round, Evgeny Malkin and Carl Hagelin, two very prominent players in the lineup, they were ruled out the day before. No gray area, they're not playing. Both the Bruins and the Pens were winners. Was there an advantage to being gained by concealing the lineup? I don't know. Jets didn't let on that Nick Ehlers was out for a game against Vegas. Paul Maurice knew he wasn't playing the day before. Nobody said a thing. Nick Backstrom was, what, day-to-day for 2 weeks? Is that legitimately day-to-day? Or do we need to maybe look at this and address it a little more closely? Maybe there's got to be some sort of consistency, some sort of transparency. Now, at the same time, I appreciate the whole personal information thing. You don't want to reveal details that are too personal. Some discretion is fair. You don't need to have all of the explicit details. But a little bit of transparency would be nice. Just, is he in or is he out? I'd be okay with that. I think it's time that we get to that point. If you want to weigh in, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. We have caught up with Joe Yerdon, who is covering the NHL Combine for NHL.com. He also covers the Buffalo Sabres. Joe, was it true that you were doing pull-ups and that's why we had to wait for you?
The next pull-up that I do will be my first one. So that's I grab the bar and I'm just going to be hanging there forever. So yeah, it's that's the fun part of the day. You get that in the Wingate, and away we go. But yeah, no, that I was actually trying to chase down Quinn Hughes, which I think many people in college hockey will tell you is very, very difficult to do.
I see. All right. Okay. So I'm glad we're clear on the whole pull-up thing, though. But you chased down Quinn Hughes. Who has gotten your attention? Who has captured your imagination so far in the NHL Combine that you've been covering?
Well, with the Combine, it's always funny because you're just watching these guys basically do a very, very aggressive workout throughout the day. You know, from getting measured up, the height and the wingspan, to watching them do the agility run, which is like, you know, if you played sports where you're running all over the place and you kind of want to barf afterwards, to hopping on the bike and getting screamed at to pedal as hard as you can for 30 seconds. But I'll tell you, hearing the shutters pop when Rasmus Dahlin came up to do his stuff,
he got everybody's attention. Usually these guys will do it and they'll just kind of sail through and not really get noticed too much. Everybody was watching Dahl and following him along here because, let's face it, Buffalo's going to take him number one here. And when you're in Buffalo and you're the guy that's going to get picked, you're going to get noticed.
Yeah, and that's understandable. There's just got to be so much excitement for the Buffalo Sabres that Rasmus Dahlin, he's going to be a fixture on defense for so many years to come. There's the disappointment of a couple of years ago where they didn't get the first overall pick. They've got it this year, and they know they're going to get a terrific player who will couple with some of the other terrific players that they've had recently as well. Jack Eichel, I think, is terrific. It's unfortunate he's been injured a little bit, but they're starting to build something in the right direction. It's going to take a little time still, but I think they're doing all right.
Yeah, it's adding a guy like Dahlin to this group is going to help out immensely, because if there's a weakness on this team, it's been defense. Depending on how you feel about Rasmus Ristolainen or Marco Scandella, and how you feel about young guys like Brandon Gooley. I mean, they're nice guys to have. They're good players to have in there, but there wasn't somebody who kind of drives the bus. And Rasmus Dahlin is the bus driver. I mean, he's the guy that's going to carry things forward for this team on the blue line, because he's going to plug it immediately, be a 20-plus minute a night guy. He's going to run the offense. He's going to quarterback the power play. He's going to do all this stuff. And they haven't really had that guy to do that maybe ever in franchise history when you think about it. Maybe not since Phil Housley, which is crazy to think. But, they really haven't had somebody, that's capable of doing that kind of work, with that kind of workload. And, to add him to this team, it's going to help out in a big way. And it's going to solve a lot of problems for what they were going to do in the offseason, because they got a lot of questions still to figure out.
Yeah, and I know that there's some people that are still speculating about the future of Ryan O'Reilly in Buffalo, but I'm telling you, if I'm if I'm the general manager, he's staying on my team.
Yeah, a lot of people are hung up on what O'Reilly had to say at the end of the season, where the losing caught up to him, and you kind of lose your love of the game. I think after you've been out of the playoffs 4 straight years, his first 3 seasons in Buffalo after signing a big deal, wouldn't you be a little upset? Wouldn't you be a little bit, kind of down in the dumps about things? Because we're talking, at least 2 of the worst seasons in Sabres history, maybe 3, if you consider this past season. That's a lot of losing. That's a lot of lost games, and you don't want to have that on your record. Nobody wants to lose that much. So I get it. I understand, but he's a 60-point a season guy. He's your top defender up the middle. He's your face-off guy. He does all this stuff. He does all these things great. And I think maybe some fans just got frustrated that he costs $7.5 million a year or $7 million a year. And let's face it, you have Jack, you have Ryan up the middle. You're doing pretty good.
Yeah, and if you're not getting upset at missing the playoffs and having that bother you, then I think it's time to worry. I think it's gone completely backwards. I want to ask you about a couple of other soon-to-be drafted players and what you've seen and how they've looked, but there's a lot of excitement about a couple of them. Andrei Svechnikov is one of them, a right winger that can score and is going to look good in somebody's lineup.
Yeah, I would say if he doesn't end up in Carolina's lineup at number 2, everybody behind Carolina is going to be trying to get to number 3. Even then, I think Montreal is going to want to take him then. But he's just a great kid. I remember talking to his older brother with the Red Wings earlier this season. He was excited for his brother to arrive, and talking to Andre here this week. This kid's got it. He's speaking through an interpreter mostly. He knows his English though, but he just wants to be sure he's on point with what he's saying. So I think we can all appreciate that. But he said he wants to be in the NHL next season, and if it doesn't work out that way, hey, fine. But his plan is to be in the league next season. I think that's a great attitude to have, because you know what, if you put him in Carolina, that's going to work out really well.
Yeah, Montreal will try and make him a center, as what I suspect. The other name I want to ask you about is Brady Tkachuk, and is he going to be the highest drafted Tkachuk in his family?
You know what? I'd say if he's not, that's a big surprise. I think he's going to be, because I can't really see him getting past where Matthew was taken a couple of seasons ago. But he's a kid with just a big personality. You kind of expect that with the Tkachuk family. You got the old man Keith there, kind of setting the mold for everybody. But he's such a net presence. He plays such a game with such an edge up front. And he's such a pain to deal with. Watching him work during the World Juniors, just watching him get under everybody's skin was great. And sometimes if you're an agitator and you don't finish and you don't score, you think you're
Sounds like we lost Joe. Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. Looks like we lost Joe Yerdon. Joe, that's unfortunate we got cut off at the end, but I'm glad that we got to connect with Joe Yerdon for NHL.com. He's covering the NHL Combine and covers the Buffalo Sabres. At Joe Yerdon is how you follow him on Twitter. This is where a lot of the initial discussions are probably going to take place, too, between teams about, hey, what do you want to do? Is there an area you could use somebody? We got somebody we're looking to move before the things start to really percolate in a couple of weeks at the NHL Draft. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Coming up before the top of the hour, Scott Burnside from The Athletic will join us. We'll talk about Stanley Cup Final, Capitals, Vegas Golden Knights, and in our next segment, Corey Hirsch will join us, former NHL goaltender, goalie coach, Vancouver Canucks radio analyst. We'll talk a little about the Canucks, and I want to ask about goaltending and the save from Braden Holtby in game number 2 and a whole bunch more. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. We'll talk to Corey Hirsch right after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Welcome back. It's Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Saturday edition. Back again tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, and we will dissect what takes place in game number 3 of the Stanley Cup Final. Set to go a little bit later on this evening. Puck drop, 8:25-ish, something like that, as they get set. I'm curious to see what happens in the game. For the 2.5-3 hours that they play, well, at least that much. We haven't had any overtime in the Stanley Cup Final yet. Maybe we'll see a little bit of that. I don't know. I'm anxious to see what happens in terms of the lead up, the celebration, the pregame. Sting and Shaggy are doing a show in DC. Pat Sajak is apparently doing the introductions for the players. He's not Michael Buffer. It's kind of a different approach, but good for the Washington Capitals for trying to make a big deal and make a big show about it. It's not Vegas. You don't want to be Vegas. You want to do something a little different. It's all right, but it's time that others in the NHL sort of looked at. Yeah, they did a pretty good job on a lot of this stuff. These guys in Vegas this year. Maybe we need to look at things and do a little bit better. Having a little trouble reaching Corey Hirsch. We'll endeavor to continue. Scott Burnside will join us before the top of the hour from The Athletic. We'll get more on the Vegas Golden Knights and the Washington Capitals, what to expect in game number 3 of this series. I'm kind of looking at a lot of different things. I'm not sure what to expect from some areas. Some comments on social media from the availability of head coach Gerard Gallant of the Vegas Golden Knights in the last little while. I was following our friend Stephen Whyno, who was with us earlier, at Whyno, to follow him on Twitter, asking about any lineup changes for the Vegas Golden Knights. That's something that we were talking about a little earlier. I could see Gerard Gallant doing that tonight. He's done it previously in the playoffs when the team needed a little injection. Didn't play a particularly strong game. The next game, he shuffled a few different players in and out of the lineup. Ken Boehlke from Sinbin.Vegas earlier thought, not so sure about tonight, but he could see it happening maybe in the 4th game if Vegas were to go behind in the Stanley Cup final. I could see him doing it tonight. From Gerard Gallant, asked about any lineup changes, whether things will be different in the lineup for the Vegas Golden Knights this evening. Gerard Gallant's comment, here's the quote, 4 words. You'll see in warm-up. You'll see in warm-up. Pretty simple. The other thing that is telling for Gerard Gallant is the way he's kind of focused himself and the team all through the season is we're concerned about what we're doing, and it's not about what the other team is doing. Whether Evgeny Kuznetsov is playing or not, doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything they do. And that's what they got away from in game number 2. They didn't do the things that have made them successful throughout the first 3 rounds of the playoffs and through the 82-game regular season. They got away from playing their game, and that's something that they need to get back and focused on. If Vegas can do that, they can be successful. They're aggressive. They're disruptive. They cause panic and indecision and bad decisions with their aggressive forechecking. That's what's created them opportunities. Good defense leads to good offense is the cliche, but it results in scoring opportunities. The other part is they have capitalized on scoring opportunities at an incredible rate. During the series against Winnipeg, the Jets didn't make a lot of mistakes, but it seems as though everyone they made wound up in the back of their net. If they can create opportunities with the aggressive forecheck against the Washington Capitals, then they'll have opportunities to capitalize once again. That's one of the things I'm looking for in terms of the Vegas Golden Knights and what happens with this series against Washington Capitals. The other is Marc-Andre Fleury hasn't been great. Through the first 2 games of the series, Marc-Andre Fleury wasn't the Marc-Andre Fleury that we saw through the first 3 rounds of the postseason. Now, he was playing out of his mind, posting unbelievable numbers. Is it realistic to expect that there would be a little bit of drop-off when you're going against the best team in the Eastern Conference Final? You got to say that they're the best team in the Eastern Conference Final because they defeated all the challengers. Is it reasonable to expect there would be a little bit of drop-off? Yes, especially in game number 1 after having a full week off since disposing of the Winnipeg Jets. Practice all you want, even scrimmage, it's not the same as playing a game, especially one with playoff intensity. And that's what we saw in game number 1. We saw goals that went in that we were surprised to see go in on both nets from Braden Holtby and Marc-Andre Fleury. But what do we see from Marc-Andre Fleury in game number 3? That's the important one. He's looked human in the first couple of games. He had a little bad luck. So did Braden Holtby. But Holtby was the better goaltender in game number 2. And I'm not just talking about the save, the big save. He played better. He had better numbers. He made saves when he needed to. Can Marc-Andre Fleury bounce back and play the kind of game that we expected? He's got to be better, because if Marc-Andre Fleury isn't better, Vegas isn't winning the series. He's got to be the best player. This goes back to the start of the season. Marc-Andre Fleury was going to be the backbone. He was going to be the foundation. He was going to give them solid goaltending. He was going to allow them to be competitive. If Marc-Andre Fleury is not playing up to his NHL capabilities, Vegas doesn't have a chance to win because they can't play their game. They're too busy trying to defend. Braden Holtby was better in game number 2. It's a small margin between winning and losing, especially in the Stanley Cup final when you're going against the best team from the other conference. Marc-Andre Fleury has to close that margin down. There was too big a gap between his performance and Braden Holtby's performance in game number 2, excuse me. Braden Holtby is getting all the talk and all the attention and all the focus because of the save from Alex Tuch late in the game that would have tied the game. He played well outside of that also. That was the essential part to the Washington Capitals' success. And we also saw that it isn't entirely necessary for the Washington Capitals to score the first goal. And that's another thing to watch for this evening. It was Vegas that scored the first goal in game number 2. Yet, the Washington Capitals were able to come up with a victory. We saw lead changes back and forth at a record pace in game number 1. Didn't happen as frequently in game number 2, but there was a lead change. Because it was James Neal that scored just about 8 minutes into the game. Lars Eller tied it. Alex Ovechkin put them ahead. Brooks Orpik scored the eventual game winner. The lead can change. I think it's more likely that the lead can change for Washington than for Vegas. That's why it's important for Marc-Andre Fleury to get back and play at the level that he is capable of. If we don't see that, if Vegas is trying to come back in a game, we're going to see the kind of thing that we saw in game number 2. That's not the recipe for success for the Vegas Golden Knights. It's more important for Vegas to score first than it is for Washington. It's gone all through the postseason that the team that scores first wins the majority of the games. But it's not vital to the success of the Washington Capitals, and they proved that in game number 2. It was a desperation save by Braden Holtby that kept the game from being tied on that shot from Alex Tuch. There's only one play. Dive across and hope that you get it. Sure, he's recognizing what he's trying to do, but realizes the chances of success are limited as well. If Vegas wins game number 3, how much are we even talking about the save going forward? Unless Washington wins the series, are we talking about that save going forward, except for, the occasional top 10 list of good saves in a Stanley Cup final? It's been overblown. It was a very good save. It was an important part of the game, absolutely. But it's been given greater importance already than it deserves. Important it didn't tie the game. Washington went on to win. But in terms of the broader picture, it's been given more importance than it's worthy of. Braden Holtby played well. Marc-Andre Fleury didn't. That's as big a story as the save. And Braden Holtby hasn't been sensational for the entire playoffs. He didn't play well during the Eastern Conference Final at times against the Tampa Bay Lightning. He played great in the final 2 games, which allowed the Capitals to come back and win the series. How are the Caps going to play on home ice? They haven't been great. They have a below 500 record of 4-5. Oh, yeah, but a couple of those games, Philip Grubauer was in net. Yeah, you're right. And for more than a couple of those games, Braden Holtby was in net, including games 3 and 4 against the Tampa Bay Lightning, where they lost. Again, got back on top of his game through the end of the series, but there has been fluctuations in the game. And we haven't seen the fluctuations through the first 3 rounds of the postseason from Marc-Andre Fleury that we've seen from Braden Holtby. Braden Holtby played great in game number 2, including the big save. He could come back and lay an egg tonight. Will we see Marc-Andre Fleury get back to the level that we have expected? Vegas is even in the series. They lost a game at home ice. They have lost home ice advantage. Does Gerard Gallant switch the lineup? According to his comments, stay tuned. You'll find out during the warm-up if there's any changes. Vegas has been a defense-first team. They got away from that in game number 2. And the other one is I'm interested to see what kind of impact the officials have on game number 3. Because it's the same 2 guys, Mark Joannette and Wes McCauley, that we had in game number 1, and they were terrible. Penalties were missed. Penalties were not called. Did they decide the game? Not willing to go that far. Did they have a significant impact on the game? You're damn right they did. And no, I'm not gonna buy into the line of the NHL apologists that say, "Oh well, you know, they missed stuff. It's too bad." Yeah, they missed stuff. They missed significant stuff, or they chose not to call it. Either way, it's a problem. These are some of the things that I'm anxious to see in tonight's game. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. We'll have our Dog of the Day winner before the top of the hour. Unfortunately, could not connect with Corey Hirsch. We'll hope to have him. Maybe we can try and get him on for tomorrow's program and talk about the goaltending once again. Scott Burnside scheduled to join us from The Athletic covering the Stanley Cup Final. We'll do that right after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Saturday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis continues, getting you set for game number 3 of the Stanley Cup Final. Vegas Golden Knights, Washington Capitals from D.C. Scott Burnside covers the National Hockey League for The Athletic. You should be following him on Twitter at Overtime Scott B. And he joins us now covering the Stanley Cup Final. Scott, we had 10 goals in game 1. We had 5 goals in game 2. Please don't tell me that the goals are going down by another half tonight.
No, although it'll be interesting to see how things unfold in game 3. It'll be interesting to see what kind of ice conditions we have. I know we saw, obviously, in game 1, they weren't very good in Vegas and with the new logos and all that kind of stuff. But I think, talking to the players, I thought it was much better for game 2. We'll see if there's a backsliding because of new logos here at Capital One Center in Washington. But I think I think we should see another close game. I don't know whether we'll get back up to 9 or 10 goals, but I think we're going to see some offense. Again, I don't think the goaltenders, Braden Holtby and Marc-Andre Fleury, probably were at their best in game 1, and we certainly saw Braden Holtby up the ante in game 2. So we'll see if Marc-Andre Fleury bounces back or raises the ante again, as we've seen him do throughout this playoff year.
Yeah, he's been sensational in the first 3 rounds. Holtby was a little better, especially the save, of course, which has gotten an awful lot of attention over the last couple of days since he made it in game number 2 and even the series. Are you focusing on the home record of the Washington Capitals? There's going to be an exuberant crowd in the building that can work for you or against you, and the Caps haven't been great at home.
No, and as we know, the home team throughout the playoffs has really struggled. And it's been sort of counterintuitive, although when you talk to coaches and players, you can rationalize it. As you mentioned, sometimes that exuberant home crowd leads to, a higher degree of angst if things don't go your way. Certainly in Washington early in the playoffs, I think we saw that where, players they're anxious if things don't go well early in a game. And then they try and press the matter. They get away from the structure of the game that Barry Trotz wants them to play with. So I think that's the kind of dynamic. Now, I will say, having been here for Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Final, might have been the best game of the playoffs for the Washington Capitals. In fact, might have been the best game they've played as an organization in 20 years. So it was a must-win situation, and they played an absolutely dominant game, physical, really gave Tampa very little to work with. So now they're 2-1 since that, all 3 of those games on the road, Game 7 against Tampa, and then the first 2 games in Las Vegas. So it's been a bit of a break for them since playing at home. I don't think you're going to see the kind of jitters that maybe we saw from the Capitals early in the playoffs. But the counter to that, or the other side of that coin, is that Vegas has been exceptional on the road. Some of their best games, in fact, were in Winnipeg, a very difficult place to play in the Western Conference Final, and played some of their best hockey on the road in a very tough place. And I expect they'll be very difficult tonight as well. They're a very structured team, very well coached, obviously, with Gerard Gallant. So I expect then that they're going to bring a level of structure tonight that is going to challenge the Capitals at home.
You mentioned something interesting there that I think is important for teams as we go through such a long playoff in the NHL, that the Caps may have played their best game in game number 6. The Washington Capitals have continued to improve and get better as the playoffs have gone along, even battling through the injuries that they've sustained. I'm not sure we can say that about the Vegas Golden Knights. They've had a high level, but Washington, I think, has continued to improve as the playoffs go along. I think that's important.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a very fair point as well. I think that the Capitals have, and you look at their track, the path they have followed this spring. They started with 2 home losses against Columbus, had to go to overtime to win in what was essentially a must-win situation in Game 3 against Columbus, dropped the first game against Pittsburgh in the second round, the game that they led for most of the contest. Lost 3 games in the middle of the Eastern Conference Final before winning 2 elimination games, and bounced back after a pretty sloppy Game 1 in Vegas to tie the series up at 1-1. So they are a team that, and very, distinctly different from Washington Capitals teams in the past, where they have faced adversity and surged forward as opposed to sagging, which has been the sort of the hallmark of Caps teams for the last decade or so. And I think, what's interesting is that there is a zen sort of attitude about the Washington Capitals. And I think Game 2 was an excellent example of that. Of course, they lose Evgeny Kuznetsov late in the first after a hit from Braden McNabb. They kill off a long 5-on-3 early in the third period. Braden Holtby makes the save of the playoffs to keep the 1-goal lead late in the third period. So, it's a team that has risen to the challenge when they faced hurdles or obstacles, and I think that puts them in good stead. And I think you're right. I think, this is sort of a punch counter punch final to start with. And I think the pressure is more on Las Vegas to say, okay, what have you got to answer for the loss in Game 2? How do you answer for a Washington team that is very confident, they don't wobble, or they don't take a knee if they do wobble a little bit? So I think that's what makes these two games in Washington so fascinating as this series progresses.
And I think the other part of building the Caps' confidence was they went down a goal in game number 2 and came back and took the lead and managed to hold on to it. We, other than game number 1 of this Cup final, there haven't been a lot of lead changes in the postseason.
No, and historically this spring, when you look at the stats, Vegas, they're almost unbeatable at home, and they certainly are almost unbeatable when they score first. I think they were 11-1 or whatever the number was. I believe this was just the second time that they scored first and lost a game this spring. So, those are factors that the Capitals were able to overcome. And again, playing without Evgeny Kuznetsov, you saw Lars Eller really step to the fore, as he did earlier in the playoffs when Nicholas Backstrom went down with an injury, blocking a shot late in the Pittsburgh series. So you've seen the Capitals roll through the kinds of setbacks or adversities that in the past I think have haunted them, and which other teams in the NHL you look, there aren't many teams that could lose a player like Nicholas Backstrom for 3 or 4 games and at critical moments still have success. And you lose Evgeny Kuznetsov, who might be the Capitals' Conn Smythe Trophy leader, if you were going to put a list on it early in the final. And you lose him for most of a critical game 2, and they still manage to come away with the win. And I think those are the kinds of things that continue to build and breed confidence in that Capitals locker room.
Yeah, it's good. This is going to be an interesting game number 3 to see which side takes the momentum moving forward as the series moves along. Scott Burnside from The Athletic, covering the NHL and the Stanley Cup Final at Overtime. Scott B is how you follow him on Twitter. Great stuff today, Scott. I appreciate the time and look forward to having you back to talk more again in the future.
Anytime.
Thanks. Scott Burnside, covering the National Hockey League and the Stanley Cup Final for The Athletic. The atmosphere inside the building, yes, it can work for you or against you. Remember, too, that this is the first Stanley Cup Final game at home for Alex Ovechkin. First game at home that he's waited an awful long time to get there. So I think there was a little bit of trepidation, a bit of nervousness by Alex Ovechkin, Nick Backstrom too, and some other longtime Capitals early on in the series. I think they'll feel a little bit of that again in game number 3 as they're taking to the ice for their first home game in the Stanley Cup Final. Maybe that's the opportunity that Vegas needs to jump out to the early lead, to get the lead and be able to play their game going forward. That's going to be the key to success for Vegas, being able to play their game, not having to try to come back the way they did in game number 2 of the series. Vegas gets the lead, makes it a much tougher game for the Washington Capitals. If the Caps get the lead, it makes it an almost impossible game for the Vegas Golden Knights. Looking forward to it. We'll be back again on Sunday morning, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, to digest all that has taken place in at least 3 periods of Stanley Cup Final game between the Caps and the Vegas Golden Knights. Intrigued to see the kind of pregame show Pat Zajac is apparently doing, the introductions of the players. What we'll get won't be Vegas, but it should be interesting. Just before we wrap up for the Saturday edition, we say congratulations to our Dog of the Day winner from Jeff Campbell. Nice. Wearing the shades, that pooch is. Enjoying a little bit of summer sunshine, just as we're getting set to enjoy game number 3 of the Stanley Cup playoffs between the Vegas Golden Knights and Washington Capitals. Our thanks to Scott Burnside, to Joe Yerdon, to Stephen Whyno, and to Ken Boehlke, all for joining us. Back again Sunday morning at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, with the next edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Have a great day of hockey.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.